Do you think you're fighting against the world? But the war that consumes you the most is the one within yourself. Every morning you wake up and face mirrors that reflect a divided man. On one side, the man you could be. On the other, the man you're afraid to admit you are. This invisible battle erodes your strength, drains your energy, and turns you into a hostage of a diminished version of yourself. You look at others and think they have fewer problems, that they face less resistance, that the world conspires against you specifically. But Sartre warned us about men like you, about men like us. The greatest enemy isn't external. It's the version of yourself you refuse to face. It's the man you betray every day when you choose the easy path, when you accept crumbs, when you pretend everything's okay. Here, you'll understand why your external battles are reflections of an internal war you haven't yet had the courage to declare. And more importantly, how to stop being a deserter of your own life. If you've ever felt like you're losing a war you didn't even know you were fighting, write it down below, because this might be the first time someone speaks the truth about what truly paralyzes you. And if you know another man who is living through this internal division, send this video to him. Sometimes, one person's courage can awaken another's. You blame the boss who doesn't recognize you. React against the woman who disrespects you. Avoid confrontations that could set you free. But each of these reactions are echoes of unresolved internal battles. When you explode over something small, it's not about that moment. It's about years of accumulated submission. When you accept humiliation without reacting, it's not about diplomacy. It's about the fear of owning who you really are. The world is a cruel and precise mirror. The chaos outside reflects the loss of control inside. If you are surrounded by people who disrespect you, it's because there's a part of you that accepts this disrespect as deserved. If you attract situations where you constantly have to explain yourself, it's because there's an inner voice questioning your worth as well. Sartre understood this better than any modern psychologist. He knew that we project our internal war into the external world because it's easier to fight visible enemies than to face the ghosts we carry within us. It's simpler to blame circumstances than to take full responsibility for our condition. You can spend your entire life fighting symptoms while ignoring the root cause. You might change jobs, relationships, cities, but if the internal war persists, the same patterns will recur in different disguises. The man who flees from himself carries his prison wherever he goes. The hard truth that no one wants to face is this: as long as you are at war with yourself, the external world will always be a hostile battlefield. Until you make peace with who you truly are, you will continue to be betrayed by your own shadow. Sartre called this self-deception bad faith, the unconscious choice to lie to oneself. You live a role scripted by others. A breadwinner father hiding his rebellion, a dedicated employee swallowing humiliations, a good guy who never sets boundaries. But behind each mask, there's someone you betrayed daily. Bad faith is seductive because it offers the illusion that you have no choice. I have to endure this for the good of my family. I can't react because I need the job. I must be understanding because I am a man. Each of these phrases is a small death to your authenticity. It's you choosing the security of imprisonment over the uncertainty of freedom. You forget who you are because remembering hurts. You forget your dreams because pursuing them demands courage. You forget your anger because expressing it requires responsibility. So you become an actor playing a role that everyone approves of, but that you secretly despise. Escaping the anguish of freedom is the first battle lost, because in Sartre's philosophy, being free isn't about doing whatever you want. It's about taking full responsibility for who you choose to be at every moment. It's recognizing that even in the worst circumstances, you still have the power to choose your response, and that responsibility terrifies you. It's easier to be a victim of circumstances than the author of your own story. It's more comfortable to blame the system than to build personal power. It's less frightening to accept crumbs than to demand the feast you deserve. But this ease comes at a price, the slow death of your soul. Bad faith isn't just lying to others. It's primarily lying to yourself about who you are and what you're capable of. It's settling for diminished versions of your existence because the full version requires a courage you haven't yet developed. You live divided between what others expect of you and who you truly are. This internal fracture causes anxiety, guilt, and apathy. In the morning, you put on the social mask. At night, you look at yourself in the mirror and don't recognize the person staring back. There is a man inside you who was never granted permission to be fully born. Your parents wanted an obedient son. Your wife desires a predictable husband. Your friends expect someone who doesn't challenge them. Society demands a quiet contributor. Everyone has an opinion about who you should be, yet no one asks who you want to become. And worse, you've even stopped asking yourself that question. This invisible war is the most brutal of all because it unfolds in silence. No one sees when you sacrifice a piece of your soul to keep the peace. No one witnesses when you swallow words that could set you free. No one counts how many times you've betrayed your own instincts to please people who don't truly care about you. Inner contradiction manifests as symptoms you try to medicate with distractions. Anxiety born from the tension between being and seeming. Depression stemming from the gradual death of your authentic dreams. Anger that erupts at inappropriate moments because it was suppressed during crucial times. Embracing this contradiction is the first act of courage because it requires admitting that you've been complicit in your own imprisonment. It calls for recognizing that many of your choices were driven by fear, not wisdom. It demands accepting that you have the power to change, but also the responsibility for the years you've wasted. If you feel something stirring inside while reading this, mark this moment in the comments. No need to explain what it is. Sometimes a single word suffices, because it's in this moment of acknowledgement that true change begins. And if you sense that finally someone is speaking the truth you've always known, but never dared to face, leave a like. Not for me, but for yourself, as a silent vow that this time things will be different. Each morning you face the same decision, to fight or to flee. Fighting means taking full responsibility for your life. Fleeing means continuing to blame circumstances. Fighting involves setting boundaries, even when it causes conflict. Fleeing entails accepting disrespect to maintain a false peace. Sartre said, "Man is what he makes of what was done to him." You didn't choose your family, your upbringing, or your initial traumas, but you choose every day what to do with this inheritance. You can use it as a perpetual excuse or as fuel to build something greater. Authenticity is not a permanent state you attain once and hold forever. It is a daily choice, sometimes hour by hour, to remain true to what you feel and think, even when it discomforts others. It involves choosing to say no when every fiber of your being screams to do so, even if your mouth is accustomed to saying yes. You can carry on as you are, living a life approved by others, but secretly despised by yourself. You can maintain familial peace by becoming a ghost within your own home. You can sustain draining relationships because ending them means confronting solitude. Or you can declare war on your passive self. Warring against passivity entails accepting that some people will abandon you when you cease to be convenient for them. It means acknowledging that certain relationships were upheld solely by your submission. It involves recognizing that building an authentic life requires first dismantling the artificial existence built out of fear. But this destruction is not violent. It is surgical. It is the precise removal of everything that is not fundamentally you. It's stopping pretending to enjoy things you hate. It's ceasing to accept treatments that violate your dignity. It's no longer investing energy in people who have never reciprocated yours. With every authentic choice, you reclaim a piece of your soul. With each boundary you enforce, you rebuild your inner territory. Every firm no teaches the world to respect you. Because the world doesn't respect who you are. It respects who you demonstrate yourself to be through your actions. Overcoming your inner war is not a one-time victory to be celebrated and then relaxed. It's choosing every day with full awareness who you want to be in that specific moment. It's affirming, this life is mine, and I fully embrace the responsibility of being myself. It's accepting that no one will save you from yourself. Authentic freedom is frightening because it comes with absolute responsibility. When you stop blaming others for your frustrations, only you and your choices remain. When you stop expecting the world to change to fit your desires, only the need for you to become strong enough to seize what you want remains. Being free means accepting that you are entirely responsible for the quality of your existence, not only for your actions, but for your reactions. Not only for what you do, but for what others are allowed to do to you. Not only for your successes, but for how you handle failures. Internal victory is not the absence of conflict. It is the ability to navigate conflicts while preserving your integrity. It does not mean never feeling fear. It means feeling fear and acting in accordance with your values anyway. It does not mean always being right. It is having the courage to admit when you are wrong and to correct your course without losing your dignity. When you take full control of your inner life, something shifts in the way the world treats you. Not because the world changes, but because you change. You stop attracting situations you once tolerated. You cease to endure behaviors you once swallowed. You stop investing in people who drain your energy. Sartrean freedom is not doing whatever you want without consequences. It is doing what must be done, accepting all consequences because you choose to be responsible for your own existence. It is preferring the pain of truth to the comfort of lies. It is preferring the solitude of authenticity over the company of falsity. This freedom manifests in small daily acts, in saying no when everything inside screams no, in setting clear boundaries without justification, in choosing quality over quantity in relationships, in investing your energy only in people and projects that deserve your presence. Marcus was 34 when he finally realized he was losing a war he didn't even know he was fighting. Married for 10 years, father of 2, manager at a mid-sized company. On the surface, a life anyone would consider successful. Beneath it, a man dying a little more each day. He woke every morning at 5:30, not out of discipline, but out of anxiety. An upset stomach before even opening his eyes. At work, he swallowed his boss's humiliations as if they were bitter pills necessary for his family's survival. At home, his wife treated him like useful furniture, present when needed, invisible when not. Marcus had stopped expressing opinions years ago. When asked about anything, his default response was whatever, or you decide. He had become an expert at not bothering anyone. The price of this artificial harmony was a constant inner discomfort. The last straw came when his 8-year-old son asked, "Dad, why are you never angry?" The child had observed something Marcus refused to admit. He had become a man without reactions, without opinions, without real presence, a ghost in his own life. That night, for the first time in years, Marcus looked at himself in the mirror and asked a question that changed everything. Who are you when no one is watching? The answer haunted him. He didn't know. He had spent so long pretending to be what others wanted that he had lost touch with his true self. It was then that he declared war. Not against his family, not against his job, but against the version of himself that accepted disrespect as if it were affection. Against the inner voice that told him his needs were less important than everyone else's. Against the fear of conflict that had transformed him into a prisoner of his own home. The first battle was simple, to stop saying whatever when he actually had preferences. It might seem small, but it was revolutionary. For the first time in years, Marcus began to exist in the small everyday decisions: where to dine, which movie to watch, how to spend the weekend. His family was initially surprised, but gradually they began to respect his opinions. The second battle was more difficult, establishing boundaries at work. Marcus stopped accepting extra tasks without compensation. He stopped staying beyond hours without pay. He stopped absorbing his boss's anger as if he were responsible for the company's problems. Some colleagues thought he was arrogant. Others began to imitate him. The most brutal war was against his own need for approval. Marcus discovered that he had spent decades being what others wanted because he was afraid to find out that his authentic self wouldn't be accepted. But when he finally mustered the courage to be himself, he realized that the people who truly mattered not only accepted, but preferred that version. 6 months later, Marcus was physically unrecognizable, but behaviorally unrecognizable. He spoke with quiet authority. He set boundaries without aggression. He showed affection without submission. His children started asking for his opinion on important matters. His wife began treating him as a man again, not as a household employee. The transformation wasn't magical. It was the result of thousands of small, brave choices, preferring the tension of authenticity over the comfort of falsehood, choosing to be respected rather than merely tolerated, accepting that a life without conflict is not peace, but a living death. The world will continue to be at war. Countries will clash over territory. Politicians will fight for power. Companies will compete for markets. People will vie for recognition. But the war that determines your destiny takes place in silence, within yourself. It is in this invisible battle that you either lose or win your true life. Sartre understood that most men die without ever truly knowing themselves. They spend decades playing roles written for them by others. They live lives approved by others, yet secretly despised. They die strangers to their own selves. The courage to be authentic is not a singular heroic act. It is the sum of thousands of small acts of honesty with oneself. It involves choosing the uncomfortable truth over convenient lies, preferring the solitude of integrity over the company of falsity. Accepting that being true to yourself may cost you relationships, but not being true costs your soul. You can go on living a life shaped by others' expectations. You can sustain relationships maintained solely through submission. You can preserve a false peace rooted in silence. Or you can do what few men dare, declare war on your diminished self, and fight to reclaim who you truly are. And what if the greatest enemy limiting you is the fear of embracing your true self? What if all this anxiety, depression, and emptiness are merely symptoms of a soul starving for its own authenticity? Sartre already knew. Only those who conquer themselves are truly free. The war ends for those brave enough to win it, for those who prefer to be feared for their strength rather than loved for their weakness, for those who choose the pain of truth over the comfort of illusion. The question remains, will you continue to be a deserter of your own life, or will you finally declare war on the man you've become out of fear? Now tell me, will you keep trying to be understood, or have you already realized that the war is internal? Leave your thoughts in the comments. It's your pact to break free from the passive version of yourself. And if you want to keep hearing truths that no one else dares to tell you, subscribe to this channel. Here, illusions do not survive. Here, men learn to become real men.